All we need is a good gas proc to happen in the corridor. There it is. And now we just have a kill box. Two things of importance here. One, yes, that is me on my Twitch livestream having a good laugh at this Geneva checklist. Two, this is indeed a gas-based Bladestorm Ash. There have been some changes with Tegra Encore which need some explanation. I'm TheKengineer, let's solve a practical problem. This isn't a full Ash guide, but rather a focus on one playstyle for him. If you need to farm him, complete Railjack missions on Venus, Pluto and Neptune Proxima, specifically the Corpus Defense missions. The Wave 3 and 6 rewards include a 13% chance of each Ash piece, split across 3 missions. Once obtained, you buy his blueprint from the market, assemble the pieces, and wonder why you didn't just buy the Prime from someone instead. I previously covered Ash and his Bladestorm ability, but D have made a litany of changes in this most recent update, completely invalidating the old guide. Most notable of all, Bladestorm, like other pseudo-exalted abilities, no longer uses your melee weapon for its stats. Instead, it has its own unique exalted weapon, Shadow Clones. This directly moddable option means your melee can still be a proper weapon, not a vehicle for empowering an ability. In combination with that, D made a number of other changes, not all of which were documented. In terms of losses, you can no longer apply Riven stats to Bladestorm, as Rivens are not generated for Shadow Clones. You can no longer integrate Incarnate buffs to adjust the base values of Bladestorm. Melee combo count and set mods on your melee no longer buff Bladestorm. The base damage was reduced by 25%. Killing enemies in the very first stab of Bladestorm no longer refunds the energy spent to mark them. Instead, Bladestorm only has a single hit, refunding the energy only if the target died before the Shadow Clone attacked that mark. Finally, elemental modding no longer applies at half strength and all converted into finisher damage. Instead, elemental mods apply at full power as elemental damage. This makes them stronger against unarmored enemies, but substantially weaker against armored ones. On the flip side, Bladestorm received a number of buffs. Bladestorm uses the new ability combo system, scaling to a max of a 12 times damage multiplier, up from the old melee combo max scaling of 4 times with Venka Prime. Shadow Clones are now correctly affected by attack speed, with a maximum of plus 50% attack speed, increasing the rate of finishers accordingly. All damage is in one single attack per enemy, rather than an ability hit and a shadow finisher working off different stats across 3 inconsistent attacks. Bladestorm can now both crit and apply status effects independent of the forced /proc. The critical chance and status chance both are only 5%, and the critical damage is only 1.2 times. Lastly, Bladestorm targeting is much more reliable now, with a much wider target selection radius around your reticle. So what does this all mean? Well, for a conventional Ash, it'd mean just moving your old stat stick build over from whatever weapon to Shadow Clones and have at it. You'd no longer be able to use combo game from your melee, but with some good targeting or use of router, you can quickly get Bladestorm up to that 12 times combo for maximum output. Thereafter, keep the combo up using Naramon, combo duration, or rely on the melee arcane, melee crescendo for permanent max combo with sufficient finisher kills. However, conventional Ash is slow. Even with 50% attack speed, killing 2 enemies per second at maximum is only a passing grade. Ash never struggles with damage output, it's application that holds him back. The assassin gameplay isn't best suited to the hordes of enemies you can get in missions like Survival. And sure, you could supplement the kills from Bladestorm with kills from your weapons, but where's the fun in that? Instead, Warframe gives us a whole bunch of ways to basically cheat stats into Ash without being stuck with the middling base values he now has. By enabling both status and crits, D have given us all the tools we need to make Ash silent but deadly. First is that pathetic 5% critical chance. We don't want a mod for that, so instead let's pick up Wrathful Advance. It's hilarious just how powerful this subsume is for melee, and that's no different here. Now we have hundreds of percent. Second is the paltry 1.2 times critical damage. Left as it is, that would only give us a 20% damage uplift on critical hit. We can do better than that. Arcane Crepuscular gives us a 3 times critical damage bonus and a 30% strength bonus. This not only boosts the critical damage, it makes Raffle Advance crit higher and makes Bladestorm's base damage stronger. All you have to do is stay invisible. As Ashe, how will you ever cope? But we don't have to stop there. Your companion can be modded with Tenacious Bond to give you a further 1.2 times critical damage bonus, so long as your companion meets the critical chance criteria on its own weapon. This is very easy to achieve in many ways, such as the Vol Clock on Sentinels. Our critical damage is all the way up at 5.4 times now. Used alongside Raffle Advance, we're no longer getting a 20% damage bonus on 5% of hits, but more like an 880% damage bonus on all of our hits. That alone helps elevate Ashe from merely lethal to I wasn't asking territory, also vastly improving his effectiveness against acolytes. However, it's still 2 kills per second. That's where we turn to gas. Gas procs leave a lingering cloud of harm which scales its damage off pretty much every stat on a weapon other than the heat and toxin modding used to make it happen. You don't need lots of gas procs to make gas deal damage. One big proc is enough to close a choke point for a short time. With a 5% status chance, Ashe would apply that gas proc once every 20 hits. Not that impressive really. However, boosted with Galvanized Elementalist for 120% status chance and 80% status damage, Weeping Wounds for another 440% status chance at full combo, and Volcanic Edge for 60% status chance, that little 5% value has climbed all the way up to 36%. 1 in 3 enemies can become a conduit for our gaseous murder zones. If you want to be lazier about it, the next mod could be Virulent Scourge, adding Toxin and another 60% status chance, bringing you to 39% status chance and locking in that gas. However, another mod is much more effective for only a small increase in effort. Proton Snap is a melee mod that gives you both Toxin and status chance so long as you wall latch for 2 seconds. In case you've forgotten, you wall latch by holding aim while in the air right next to vertical terrain. If you just read the mod, it looks like it gives a lot more Toxin, but a little less status chance than Virulent Scourge, making it inferior. However, that's not how Warframe works. You can't just read mods and expect them to tell you the whole story. That status chance bonus from Proton Snap is a flat, final value. Our 36% status chance with the other mods then leaps to 86%. All told, Ashe now has a very reliable chance of applying gas, supercharged by crit, able to hit so hard that almost any enemy who walks into the resulting gas cloud will perish instantly to it, which means we can still take it one step further. Gas clouds last for 6 seconds, regardless of if the target dies during that time or not. With the exceptionally high drain for a bronze mod that is Lasting Sting, we can apply a 110% status duration bonus to the gas clouds. That's now 12.6 seconds or 13 hits of lethal damage in the zone, giving plenty of time for new enemies to blunder into it. If you like faction mods, Weeping Wounds can be swapped out for a primed faction mod, noticeably lowering status chance but ramping up the lethality of gas clouds in longer enduring missions. With regards to melee arcanes, not many actually work with Ashe. The options boil down to Crescendo, Exposure, Fortification, and Retaliation. Crescendo means that no other source of combo sustain is needed, and is the simplest pick. Exposure is bad, as it will dilute your gas procs. Fortification works for an armor Ashe, but we're going for an invisible Ashe approach, so we don't need it. Lastly, Retaliation does offer extra damage, but Ashe doesn't really have a need for more damage like that unless you're going to level cap. Should you go for something other than Crescendo, I strongly recommend using Naramon Focus School, or otherwise 2 Dexterity Arcanes on your primary and secondary weapons. Letting your combo run out on Ashe is definitely no good. To make use of this Bladestorm build, set up Ashe like so, using a good balance of strength and efficiency while keeping range and duration roughly neutral. Arcane Crepuscular is absolutely needed. Arcane Trickery is more optional, providing an invisibility that costs no energy, lasts longer than Smokescreen, even with the duration buff it received, and can't be dispelled by the Violence Acolyte. With all of this modding, Bladestorm's little crit and status stats are completely overhauled now. 5% critical chance has become 229%. 1.2 times critical damage is now 5.4 times. 5% status chance is now 86%. We have the efficiency to cast liberally and the damage to make it stick. For Archon shards, I recommend adding in 1 or 2 blue shards for energy max, and a shard for initial energy to ensure you can get the party started and keep it going. Beyond those, either strength for duration shards if you wish, but he really doesn't need them. Bringing it all into one setup, best suited for turning choke points literal, we have a build that hits enemies so strongly, how did I phrase it on stream? They've sharted and departed. A big thanks to everyone who supports this channel, and you can be a supporter too by subscribing on Twitch or supporting on Patreon for just a couple quid a month. That's all from me for now, so as always, bring gas, rip ass, and fight well, Tenno.